G'day folks, it's Chris Gondek here again for another NetApp Newsworthy Minute. And today we're talking about the Microsoft Azure VMware solution. NetApp have had a strategic alliance for many years with both VMware and Microsoft. And we've recently made some exciting announcements together. So to help us learn more about this three-way partnership, I'm delighted to introduce you to my two guests today. Anthony Higgins, Staff Cloud Architect at VMware, and Shaun Jacob, AVS Specialist and Global Black Belt at Microsoft. Welcome, gentlemen.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Hey, guys. Thanks, Hunter.
Anthony, I'm going to start with you. Tell us a bit about yourself and your role at VMware.
So I've been with VMware for about 18 months now. I actually joined VMware to take up the opportunity of getting involved with the Azure VMware solution. I could see the opportunity, in the marketplace for this solution. Partly having come from a managed service provider, I previously had a lot of involvement, many years of involvement as a VMware partner and also as a Microsoft partner. And this was the opportunity to put the best of both of those companies together to, meet some really strong needs in the market. And, I could see a lot of opportunity with AVS and, obviously happy to be here talking about ANF as the sort of complementing solution for AVS.
Awesome. And Shaun, over to you. Tell us a bit about yourself and your role at Microsoft, and also how does one get the coveted title of Global Black Belt?
Yeah, funny that. Global Black Belt. It's funny. I haven't ever done a day of karate in my life, so I'm glad to get that sort of title at Microsoft. But so I've been at Microsoft for about 2 years now, enrolled for about a few months now. But yeah, so the GBB role for short is really that sort of complementary sales arm for our specialists and the field as well, because these services like AVS it's quite a specialized solution. We've got a couple of those like SAP and other data solutions as well. So for anyone in the field that's selling it with customers, having that in-depth knowledge of a product like AVS or something like that is not something that's easy to get around. And so for us, our role is basically to be that sales specialist, the technical specialist for that product, and ensure the product success around the globe. So really complementing every other field and field seller and solution architect as well.
Good stuff. Thanks both of you for joining us for this Newsworthy Minute. Anthony, I'm going to start with you in terms of today's session. What's your experience so far on the Azure VMware solution and in terms of uptake and activity?
The growth with the product, particularly in Australia and New Zealand, where I'm most active, the uptake's been really great. We've seen a lot of growth over a very short amount of time. And it's keeping my sales specialists and myself very busy. There's many opportunities that we get on a weekly basis. So growth has been fantastic, and it continues to move in that direction as well.
Oh, that's brilliant. And Shaun, from an AVS perspective and Microsoft, what have you seen that's most notable from the VMware Cloud or the Azure VMware solution uptake and activity from your end?
Yeah, it's interesting. So it depends on the market, but we're seeing huge uptake now in Australia and some other parts of the world like the US and Europe and other parts of Asia. The reason being is, especially now, so if no one knows the history, AVS started as a service which was almost like a third-party service, which was with another product, which has been bought over by another cloud. But since then, in the last two and a half years, we've made the investments and made AVS a first-party service. There's a lot of engineering backing behind it. We now own it, sell it, support it. Everything is all under the Microsoft umbrella. So because of that, I think there's that trust aspect with customers. So when people say AVS and we sell AVS, we're selling it as our product and our service. So what we're seeing now with customers around, the more, I guess, the bigger markets is people see that value and now are migrating the workloads from on-prem VMware into AVS, and then getting that same look and feel and same trust and support that they would normally get with any other Azure service. So it's really helped that story.
Oh, brilliant. And look, speaking of first-party services, I mentioned in my introduction that NetApp and VMware and NetApp and Microsoft, individually, we've had a strategic alliance for many years. But most recently, we've announced supporting the AVS offerings by providing the ability to use the Azure NetApp Files native storage service within Microsoft Azure for AVS. So I'm keen to get both of your thoughts collectively on what are the benefits for our partners and our customers with this recent announcement. And Anthony, I'll start with you.
Yeah, sure. Look, one of my roles in my position, which is a little bit different to some of my colleagues, is to do some analysis in terms of cloud economics. And often a key finding as part of the sizing of solutions with Azure VMware solution is that, in many cases, customers require more storage in terms of nodes than they do require additional memory or CPU. So for these storage-bound solutions, it's quite an advantage having a platform whereby data can be offloaded onto a lower cost storage tier rather than adding additional nodes to your hyperconverged cluster. And Azure NetApp Files is a key ingredient in those sizings and those cloud economics studies, whereby we can show additional savings with AVS by leveraging additional storage tiers through Azure NetApp Files. So it's a key ingredient at the moment in a lot of opportunities that I'm working on. And I think that's just only going to continue, as Azure NetApp Files becomes more popular with the customers and we begin to get some traction in the market with AVS and ANF.
Oh, that's fantastic. And Shaun, from a Microsoft and an AVS perspective, what are your thoughts on the announcement of the Azure NetApp Files support for Azure VMware solution, and the opportunities that are out there for our partner community and our customers?
Yeah, it's good actually. So it's really come at a good time, as Anthony said. So that the business case for some customers that are very storage heavy, and then they, from compute perspective, they just, for example, need 10 nodes, but then from storage perspective, they need 20. Prior to this, they'd have to purchase those 20 nodes just to meet that storage requirement, which it kills some of the business cases. So having this as an ability to just, and I've used it, it works really well. So attaching ANF as a data store to the private cloud and just seeing it there and being able to use it just like any other vSAN data store is huge. And it's a seamless experience. The one thing that it hasn't been talked about that much yet, but I'm sure will be, is that use case for DR. So we have a third-party partner called Jetstream, for example, who are now integrating or providing support for ANF data stores. And what that unlocks is basically from a DR perspective, if customers are replicating data from a primary region to a secondary AVS region, that data doesn't necessarily have to live on vSAN. It can live on a data store that is attached to the cluster, but it's offloaded, it's separate, so it's scaled independently. And then during DR, simply it's just you can boot the VM up because the data store is still attached. It's running cheaper. Then the only I guess what's required at that point is scale up the nodes or even storage vMotion that if you want that from ANF into vSAN. So it gives different use cases. The partner community with other third-party ISVs can leverage ANF for other use cases as well. So really, there can be other things that can be provided in that sense thanks to this announcement.
That's brilliant. So what I'm hearing is those kind of storage intensive workloads with independent scale out capability. I'm hearing about data protection, disaster recovery. I'm hearing about hybrid cloud with replicating and storage vMotion, one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen throughout my technology career. I remember my head exploding the first time I saw vMotion and then storage vMotion, completely non-disruptive migration activity of workloads, especially now in a hybrid cloud world. Some very important features and functions. Thank you both, gentlemen, for joining me on a NetApp Newsworthy Minute. And if you're out there considering the Azure VMware solution, come speak to us at VMware, at Microsoft, or at NetApp to learn more about how we can accelerate and simplify your hybrid cloud journey and your ongoing activities with Microsoft Azure. Shaun and Anthony, I hope to have you back at some point in the future. We'll talk about some success stories and how customers have leveraged our combined solution offerings. Thanks again, both, for your time.